everyone. Today we are going to talk about gender inequalities in the law and in the general provision. We will go into 4 parts. And before each part begins, there is a safe code.
Hey Rose, here is the role of police officer exam. Isn't being a police officer your dream?
Of course, let me take a look. Hey, here is a height limit. It says men need to be 165 centimeters tall. Oh, no, women need to be 160 centimeters tall. How terrible, I just have 165 centimeters tall.
Oh, I feel so sorry for you.
In the police exam in Taiwan, there are some exam rules that we need to follow, such as women need to be 160 centimeters tall and men need to be 165 centimeters tall. But we found that the average height in Taiwan is 160 centimeters for women and 170 centimeters for men. Do you find something unreasonable? The high requirement for women is just the average for women, but the high requirement for men is 5 centimeters lower than the average height for men. And there is only one woman in every 10 police officers. I think this situation is resulted from the provision of high limits. In addition to restricting the right of women to work for public servants, such provision also implies that women must be tall enough to represent the image of the country. And in Taiwan, women who choose to be a police officer have to subject to many restrictions, such as the opposition from family and the social vision. Every woman who chooses to be a police officer is worth encouraging. Therefore, we should not have different restrictions for women and men in exam rules.
Well, there's a robot Sophia. Let's take a picture with her.
Hello, I'm Sophia.
Oh, I heard that she is the first robot who has citizenship.
How cool is that?
Here, I will talk about the shocking news to you guys. We all know that Iraq is a country which is known as gender inequality, but in 2017, the first female was finally allowed to present in public occasion without their guardians, and it sounds that they come a long way on gender equality. And you might wonder who is that first female. Actually, she is Sophia. She's a artificial intelligence, but not a real human being. As a real human being, Sophia, I felt extremely upset because if I am an Arabian, the right I have is more or less than an artificial intelligence. And because of the guardianship systems that the females in our Arabian cannot do many things if they don't get the agreement from their male guardians like father or husband. But Sophia can because she has her own citizenship and she has autonomy and we predict the reason that behind the Arabian government to entitling the robust Sophia the citizenship is because that they want to let the whole world to know that they are in gender equality country. But actually, this is what the external world shows. After the news was released, the Arabian females start to call for cancel the guardianship systems, and the world start to notice their feminist movement, and finally the females in Arabian can drive the car and watch the football games, and I think drive the car and watch the football games. But besides of this, they still have a long way to go on gender equality. For example, they still can create their accounts by themselves, and they don't have the right to decide their marriage. And even the most basic thing, they cannot choose their daily wears. And it is a weird thing to entitling the Sophia a citizenship because once she becomes a real citizen, so it means that she can vote, right? And can she marry? Or once the robot Sophia and I fall into the water at the same time, which Sophia the police should rescue first? We all know that the police should rescue the one who can save herself. And I can swim, but the robot Sophia can. So the police should rescue the robot Sophia, right? Is that correct? All of this sounds too strange to believe. And in my opinion, the thing that the Arab government should do is not give a fake female the citizenship. The only way to be recognized by whole the world is to entitling the real rights to all of the Arabian females.
After we get married, will you take my last name?
What are you talking about? Isn't taking husband's last name the thing that ancient Taiwan will do? I don't want to do that.
Oh, I'm just kidding. Don't be so agitated.
Hey, if we get married, we will have baby, right? And what is their last name? I want my children to have my last name too. I think, how about one child adopts your last name and one adopts mine?
Of course, our kids will take my last name because men are greater. We are responsible for reproduction.
How can you say those words? It's so disrespectful to women. Hello, I'm Katrina. Gender equality about. Here are two parts of gender equality about last name. First, marry women's last name. Should a woman take her husband's last name after they get married? Second, children's last names. Fathers or mothers. Which last name should the children take? In the beginning, I want to ask some questions. Does your grandma take her husband's last name? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, please sit down. And does your mother take her husband's last name? This shows us that mostly your grandmother takes her husband's last name, but your mother doesn't. As time goes by, the tradition gradually disappears. Initially, Article 1000 of the Civil Code say that a wife takes her husband's last name in principle, but if they don't want to, they don't need to do that. But in 1998, the government amended the law that the husband and the wife should keep his or her own last name. So the law is opposite to the original. And in my opinion, and woman, my grandmothers and my mother my grandmother take their husband's name, but my mother doesn't. Taking or not taking doesn't affect their relationship. But in my opinion, if a woman takes her husband's last name, it seems that woman is a thing of men. But it is unfair to women. Women have their own mind. They are not a thing that men can control. Second, I want to talk about children's last name. I believe you mostly have your father's last name. Initially, Article 1059 of the Civil Code said a child has father's last name in principle. But in 1985, if a mother don't have a brother, the child can have their mother's last name. And in 2007, the government amended the law that parents should agree with each other to decide a child's last name. But if parents can decide, the household registration office will draw lots to decide it. In my view, mothers give birth to children, so it is unreasonable that mothers can decide children's last name. Last name. The both articles, the changing of both articles show us that Taiwan is trying hard to improve the tradition and the inequality and the gender inequality. Last name is important to you and I. Last name is a symbol of us. It shouldn't have any gender inequality in it. Or people will have wrong concept with our last name.
Now we are married, so your properties belongs to me, right?
What are you saying about? I think our property should separate it.
Oh, I think you pamper our kids too much. She doesn't want to do anything by herself. She should be more independent.
What? It is because you always blame whatever they should do. So I don't think that what I do is a conflict.
Why are you so stubborn? Your opinion is always different from me. It's wrong. You should listen to me.
I'm tired of this relationship. I want a divorce.
Alright. Anyway, we don't love each other anymore. So divorce is better than arguing every day. And next, I want to show you the differences between the new property law and the old property law. Before we start, let me introduce two kinds of property, unique property and community property. Unique property means the properties that owned by each of the husband or wife, such as the wife's jewelry or the husband's tie. And community property means the properties that belonging to the husband or wife before marriage, or the original property cannot be proved to be owned by the husband or wife. And before the law is amended, the community property belonging to the husband, and only husbands can control the property. And if the couple divorce, the property is only belongs to the husband. The wife cannot have any of them. This is not fair. So, this law is amended in 2002. After the law is amended, the couples can decide how they want to distribute their properties. They can own the property together or separately. Some people think that amending this law is not good because how to distribute the property can cause some arguments between a couple. So it is convenient to let the husband own the property. But in my opinion, we cannot sacrifice someone's rights for convenience. So I think amending this law is good, and it can improve gender equality. It can also improve the rights of women.
After this interesting story that I found that gender equality still exists in our daily life. And we think that gender equality is a human fight, not a female fight. And our presentation is over. Thank you for listening.